Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of Gunman's World. So this video here I'm going to be talking a bit about my PC gaming history and computer gaming history. I've been into computer games for quite some time. I was born in 1983, so by the time I was sort of old enough to play games, probably mid to late 80s. And my very first memory of playing a video game on a computer was actually the old Apple Macintoshes. So they were just like those brick type computers. Most schools had them in them back in Australia back in the day. From memory, they were just like green screens on them, and yeah, really outdated by today's standards. But I remember playing a game called Goldfields. So it was like a point and click adventure type thing. Obviously we're in Australia. It was about the Australian goldfields. So it was just basically images on the screen. It wasn't like a real-time game or anything like that. You would start off with a bit of money, and then you'd have to go and do some mining, and you get more money, and you could actually build up and create yourself a full functioning mine. So it was a bit of fun. Like when you're at school, there was nothing else to do, and the teachers didn't really seem to mind if you were just sitting there playing games on the computer. And I guess we were learning at the same time. That's probably something that we didn't realize. And I'm pretty savvy with computers, and a big part of the reason I think that I'm savvy with computers, I can thank that to video gaming, because you need to learn how to get that game to work. And so obviously from then we moved on, probably around late 80s to early 90s. My mum had a 186 computer, and that was all MS-DOS. So if you wanted to run a program, you used to have to put the, I think they were like 5 3/4 inch floppy disks, and then later on we actually did an upgrade to the 3 1/4 inch floppy disk or something like that. And now the slightly smaller ones. So you'd have to put them into the computer. You'd then have the instructions on the game of how to run that through DOS. So you'd have some command prompts that you'd have to type in. You'd have basically like a black screen with a few prompts there, and then you would have to type in C DOS run or something like that. I really can't remember all those command prompts from back in those days. But then obviously we moved on to Windows PCs a bit later on. I still remember when Windows 95 came out, and that was like, whoa, amazing, like totally blew our minds. You would turn that on today and you'd be like, what the hell is this? This is so dated. But this is a quick look at my rig of what I've got now. I'm going to run off a few games that I used to play back in the day soon. So this is a quick look at the rig that I've got at the moment. I built this thing back in 2009, 2010 originally. There's been a few upgrades done since, but most of it has stayed the same. So I'll give you a quick look at it here. So behind that, well, that's obviously the motherboard there. And behind that, we've got a i7. That's running at 2.8 gigahertz. I overclocked it a little bit this morning actually, just to get a bit more speed out of it. So you can see I've got the water-cooled CPU fan here. I've got a Radeon video card there. That's a 2 gigabytes video card. I've got 16 gig of RAM sitting there. Got myself just in there, you can just see that there's a brand new solid state drive. That's like 500 gigabytes, and I've got 4 storage drives, so they're quite big. Like you know, some of them are up to 3 terabytes, so that's handy to store all my video files on and stuff like that. I've got myself a Wi-Fi card in it, 850 watt power supply. And apart from that, just DVD drive, and yeah, it's all good. So I used to do a lot of DVD burning back in the day. I used to like the idea of not having to pay for DVDs, so I'd go down, hire them out, and then burn them through that. Spent hours and hours doing that back in the day. But we're here to talk about my gaming history, and I've wrote down a few of my favorite classic games from back in the day. So let's get started on them. Okay, so the first one that comes to mind, and probably one of the games that I got like into most out of all of them, would have been Command and Conquer. Originally, a couple of my friends had it, so I went over to their place, played it, and I'm like, wow, this game is totally amazing. And then I was there for when Red Alert came out, which is the sort of part 2, I guess, of Command and Conquer, and that just blew me away. Totally loved it. Played that shit out of that game. Bought my own copy of it for the PC, and the couple of expansion packs that they did. They had Counter-Strike, I think it was Red Alert, Counter-Strike, and then Aftermath. So they were really awesome. And So this would be sort of mid to late 90s, around then, and this was before the internet was widely used, so it was around, like people did have it, but just very uncommon for people to actually have it. So our computer actually had a modem in it. We weren't running the internet as such, but it did have a modem in it. So what I was able to do with that game is plug the phone line into the back of the modem in the computer, and then I'll get into the settings in the game, type in my friend's phone number, call his, and like you would have to give him a call to sort of, all right man, we're going to go for a game. Yep. So you'd have to unplug your phone, plug your phone into the back of the computer, and then you'd type his phone number in. It would link you up together, and you would be able to play a game of skirmish. So he was like over the other side of Bendigo. I grew up in Bendigo in central Victoria, Australia, and yeah, we'd sort of play sort of two-player. Not really online, it was just like dial-up type games, so it was only ever able to play as two players. So that was really cool for back in the day, you know. And then from there, I've written down a few other classics, so I'll start at the top. What have I got here? Catchem and Goldfields. Catchem was basically like going right back. I think we were still running the 186 computer, and it was basically like this this game where you'd have like a tile at the bottom, and you would have to catch the animals that were coming down the screen. Bit of a kid's game, but I was a kid, so Duke Nukem. Now this is not the Duke Nukem most people of the younger generation are thinking of. I'm talking side-scrolling platform game. You were just this Duke Nukem guy, and it was just so cool. You'd go around shooting the aliens up from memory. Captain Keen, totally amazing game. Absolutely love that game. Play the shit out of it. I think Captain Keen number 4 was the one I played, but I did play the first one as well, and that was always pretty cool. I finished that a couple of times. And Wacky Races, that was a good multiplayer game. I remember sitting around with my brothers playing that and having a lot of fun. Interstate 76, I remember when that game came out. That was really cool. It had some sort of a funk style to it. And yeah, it was really good fun. Like you drive around in these cars with guns on them and that. Descent, that game sort of blew me away as well. 3D flight simulator style game, and for its day, it was advanced. I remember anyway. I don't know how it would hold up today, but Doom, that game used to scare the shit out of me. So I was born in '83, and that came out in '93 around then. And yeah, so 10 years old, I still remember my brothers playing it. Like they'd turn all the lights off, and they'd used to have to get like sound cards, or you wouldn't even get any good audio out of it. But we used to have a good sound card in my mate's computer, and yeah, that was an awesome game, Doom. Wolfenstein, another game that kind of first few times I saw it being played, it's like wow, with all the Nazi imagery in it and shit, it was like pretty scary, you know. A little bit later on came stuff like Half-Life, but yeah, that's when you really started to see some advancements in the PC gaming world, I guess, or the 3D gaming, 3D shoot 'em ups and stuff like that. Forsaken, that was another awesome title. Heretic and Catacomb, they were a little bit older, but still remember having a great time playing them. Myst, that was sort of probably early to mid 90s as well, and that was sort of a bit of a point and click adventure style thing, and it was like puzzle based and really good game, like quite hard too. What else have we got? Lemmings, that was sort of around probably early 90s, I would say. That was good fun. Yeah, just run around as a lemming, and they'd have to, like, they would follow you from memory. Again, it's like my memory is fading of some of these games, but I wrote a bit of a list down, so you may as well sit down and enjoy a bit of reminiscing. SimCity 2000, that was brought out in '93, and that was pretty cool back in the day. I didn't play heaps of it, but it was, like me next door neighbours had it, and it was good fun. Worms, played the shit out of that game. Yeah, that was really, really good fun, Worms. We used to sit down, and I think you could play it 4-player, but it was turn-based, but we would just sit there cracking up, just laughing at the stuff that was happening, and it was just great fun. I think you had like 4 worms each, and you had a bit of a map, and you just like shoot bazookas and banana bombs and the sheep, and just crazy game. Then we got Pitfall. That was sort of like a side-scrolling, platformer type game. Good fun game. Prince of Persia, another original Prince of Persia. That was another side-scrolling, pretty difficult game. Like you'd have to do a lot of platformer. You'd have to do a lot of jumps and catching on to stuff and that. And even Grand Theft Auto, I remember having heaps of fun on the first Grand Theft Auto on PC, like before any of the games that you probably, if the younger generation would know from Grand Theft Auto. Same basic style, you'd run around, you'd have guns and you shoot people up, but it was all top down, and you'd jump in the car and go around to do your missions and that. It was all top down scrolling type game. So yeah, and then around sort of the year 2000, I think it was 2000 when I moved to Melbourne to start my apprenticeship. I didn't have the money to get a computer back then, and it was just easier to go consoles for around 10 years until I did build that rig there. And then when I did build that rig there, it was around the time StarCraft 2 came out. So StarCraft 2 is absolutely amazing game. Blizzard Entertainment, and I used to get right into that. We were part of a full online clan. It was called like the Australian Outlaws or the Outlaws. It's probably about 10 to 15 of us depending on the day, and we just set up rooms and we had TeamSpeak, so you'd get your gaming headset, you'd have your microphone, and you'd jump in the different room. We'd say, hey, let's go and play some StarCraft multiplayer, or we'd go even Battlefield Bad Company 2. It was a really good game back then. And yeah, so PC gaming is great fun, and today I've actually just gone down and bought myself a Xbox One controller for the PC, and I've decided why not get back into some PC gaming, because I've had some very good memories and great times playing PC games. This rig here, I was playing Grid 2 just before, and this is the main reason that I actually got this controller, because I thought, you know what, I'm going to try Grid 2 again, but I was playing with this rig and I had some outdated RAM. Now, I went to a computer shop. This is the motherboard I've got. I need some new RAM because I think the RAM's dodgy. And they said, oh, we'll just give you one 8GB stick and that should be heaps, you know. And I did a bit of research on it, and everyone seemed to think that 8GB was enough at the time. But as it turns out, the idiots down at the computer shop, after telling them my motherboard, and it was 2 or 3 years until I found this out, that the RAM wasn't the right speed RAM or something for this motherboard, so I had to go and spend another $100 or so on this proper RAM. And ever since installing that RAM, I haven't had many issues with this computer as far as the hardware goes. But yeah, that's why this morning I thought I'd get this game up and going and see how it went, because back in the day it was glitching out big time. Like, it went okay for a while and then it started glitching out, but now I whacked it on and it's running really well. That video card and that RAM and the processor shouldn't have, even though like that processor is a little bit old now, it shouldn't have too many issues running even the current games. But yeah, I've also just bought myself Battlefield 1. I bought that today when I was getting the Xbox One controller for my PC. And yeah, Xbox One controller for the PC. Absolutely necessary, I reckon, if you're going to play any racing games. But I decided to get Battlefield 1 for the PC because a few reasons. That I like keyboard and mouse when playing a first-person shooter. I think you get a little bit more control. Well, it's a little bit cheaper. I think $10, $15 cheaper, and then also don't have to pay to play online. So back in the day, it was like Xbox 360 days. They were, I think you had to pay like $70 per year to play online, and the PS3 you didn't have to. And then, you know, the PlayStation 4s came out, you got to pay to play online, and I'm just like, well, I've already paid enough for the game, I've paid enough for the system, and I think it's just a little bit greedy, really, to be honest. I understand that they have server costs and all that, but yeah, whether or not they need to actually charge for it, I don't really think they do. Obviously they don't, because they don't with the PC games. So there's definitely some good advantages to playing on PC. A few disadvantages like stability. You know, you can get caught into the trap of just spending shitloads of money on your computer, but you shouldn't have to. You know, like, I think that rig all up's probably cost me about $2,000. If I include some of the upgrades that I've done to it since it was built, you know, maybe $3,000 all up, but it's still a good computer, and I can't see any reason it's not going to last me for at least another 5 years. And even when I do need to upgrade something, it'll just be a couple of components. I won't have to upgrade absolutely everything, you know. But for now, it's pretty solid computer and pretty stable too. I did just have to do a reformat on this computer recently. I was running Windows 10, which I don't know, I don't think I like it. I've had it a couple of times and just always encountered issues with it. I'm happy with Windows 7. It seems a bit more stable to me and runs quite well. So yeah, leave a comment down below about your favourite games from the back in the day or even recent, because yeah, I mean, for myself, I don't go back to those games so often anymore. Like, when you go back to them, you might play them for an hour, if that, and then you're like, yeah, okay, we'll move back onto the current era games because they are a lot better. But I've noticed that games these days are a bit easier. I guess the real challenge comes when you're going online and then you actually play against real people. But I guess I'll leave it at that, Gunners. Hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for watching. Gunman out.